Hello and welcome back to another episode of Doctor in a Bikini. My name is Shannon Ahern, host of this podcast, also creator of Posing Prehab. Just while I'm talking about that off of the top, there is a giveaway going on between myself, Collections by Collins, Drink Way Up as in whey protein, all That Glitters Gems and Results Athletic Club. So, just off the top, if you're not already entered, make sure to go ahead and follow all the instructions below. It's on my Instagram, all of the shenanigans, as well as all the businesses I just mentioned. And the giveaway does end at midnight on the 21st. But now that we got that out of the way, first off, I am so happy that so many of you thoroughly enjoyed the first half of Connor and I's episode. You never know, it's hit or miss, but hey, we are all about keeping it real around here. And what is more real than poop stories? Am I right or am I right? This week is just a solo episode from me. I'm really excited about it because it is something that is extremely relevant for me. I feel like every day, but especially today, and just since getting back from tour. So we'll get into the bulk of all of the self help, self improvement. And I feel like once the episode is done, you're going to feel a lot better about whatever is weighing heavily on you today. Because isn't there something heavily weighing on us all? Let's be honest. But first, let's share a couple laughs. So, as you may know, I'm in prep. If you don't know, I feel like I haven't outright said, in fact, I know I haven't outright said it on social media, but on here, I just kind of let things fly where they may because it's my safe space. And I'm quite literally in our home, in our like little mini library. And can I say, I was hanging out in here. I did some feng shui when I got back, and now I love this room even more. And I looked at Connor, I was like, do you think I messed up in creating this as the library instead of the podcast room? Because it is so comfy and cozy. So, guess where I am right now? I am in our library. I'm not even in the podcast room. If you are an interior designer and you are listening, please just message me because I would love some of your feedback on just the flow of all of the Doctor and Bikini at home things. But like I said, keeping it real, comfy, cozy here. So I'm in prep. And I am currently doing the shortest prep of my life. If you're not familiar, once I got back from tour, I literally set my own macros the morning after just because I'm just gonna put it out there. My heart has heavily weighed on Junior Nats since last year. That is the show I have wanted to do for many, many reasons. It just aligns with me and what I want experience wise. And I realize it's just a show. So I'm really apprehensive to be so goal oriented about that, which we're going to get into later. um, but yeah, it just in general, my spirit wants to go there. So I'm having to work really hard on making sure that I'm validating the fact that I really want to do that show, but I have to not be so hard on myself on the things that I can't control. And before getting into all that, I'm just letting you know where I'm at weeks wise. So I landed, I think April 20. Oh, let me look up a calendar here. I landed 4 weeks ago from yesterday. So April 28th. And I set my own macros. I entered prep right away, mostly because if you remember, the tour that I was on was only supposed to go on for 3 months, not four. So when I got news of the tour extending, I texted my coach and I said, I still want to do junior nats. What do we think about this? Because I now have 4 more weeks of unpredictable tour chaos. And she's like, that's okay. We're just going to do it. We're going to do it. And it's going to be great. And I was like, all right, as long as we've got two people on board with this plan, Connor obviously as well, I'm game. So that has been the plan. And I was like, I'm not messing around. I'm going to land. I'm going to take it super seriously. And I'm going to have the most studious prep of my life. I'm going to follow every single rule, every single rep, every single macro to the freaking T. And a lot of that has to do with what I'm going to talk about later, too. But regardless of how diligent I am, it doesn't take away from how freaking scary it is that it's under 9 weeks from the start date because I've never done single digit weeks from off season to a show, let alone we're doing a warm up show. So the week before that, I'm doing a local show in Arizona called Sun City Showdown. And oh, what a time. It's I've had to resist the urge to just be a hermit and to keep everything to myself even since returning. Like I didn't come back onto the podcast mic immediately because honestly, between jumping into prep and also jumping into self-employment for the first time full time ever, it was like I completely submerged myself into a body of unknown water. And I was like, I just need to figure out which way is up so I can come up for air because it just felt so overwhelming. And I mean, in a good way, all things that I love and was excited about. But it was just, I was like, man, being my organized Virgo yellow aura self, I was like, I have to have it all figured out before I can share, which is so funny because when do we ever have stuff figured out? I mean, really, like until the day we die, right? We never have everything completely 100% figured out all the time. And if you do, hats off to you. Because I don't know, man. So I episodes like today, I was like, no, that's not why I have Doctor in a Bikini podcast. That's not why I share my life. It's not to show people how things are super duper perfect, but I do like to share how in the world I get myself from point A to point B and what things speak to me at the time, what seems helpful. So, one of those things is actually reading more self help books. And one of the books that I've really been enjoying lately and I'm re listening to is Stoicism by Jason Hemlock. And I know there's probably thousands of different Stoicism oriented books, but part of what I'm going to share today, it's a lot of content, I think, for the competitor or for the goal oriented person I'm going to share today because I feel like it's something that even though I've listened to it once, it's like I have to re listen to it and take notes. And even still, it's something I'm really working hard towards implementing. But really quick before that, because before I go down that rabbit hole, I'm going to forget the funny haha stuff that I want to share with you. So, with it being such a drastic, crazy life change as far as going from tour life to immediate prep life, surprisingly, I'm doing okay mentally and physically, minus the whole normal prep goggle things or, questioning if you're going to be ready or all that. But as far as depletion and prep brain goes, I've been like, yeah, I'm pretty fine. I haven't noticed any prep brain moments. No, I feel like really, really good until yesterday. I, you guys, I almost hit somebody with my car. And by somebody, I don't mean another car, I mean a person. It's like, oh, what? Um, First off, okay, it wasn't my fault, but so I'm going to Black Rock, right? It's the one sliver of selfish enjoyment I've been holding on to. I haven't had a piece of chocolate. I haven't had a cookie. I haven't said yes to any alcoholic beverages. I've been so, I've been such a good little student. It's not even funny. I have been to the T doing everything by the book except my coffee, just a little bit. Like I just want my little shaken espresso with a little bit of almond milk and yes, I've been having a little bit of sugar-free flavors in there. Am I at the point? I'm doing like the little bouncing ball with my hands. Am I at the point where maybe I should also not do that? Probably. But you know what? It's like oh, what's it called? Oh, this is how you know I was not a good traditional Catholic. What is it? Confession? I feel like I'm in confession right now. I'm like, I haven't given up the sugar-free syrups. So, I am on my way with my car and I'm sitting there in the parking lot. And it's a twofer, by the way. So I'm waiting, and if you could see the parking lot, you could see it's a really tight squeeze. And there's this truck that he's in front of me, and probably like an F-350, like a large Marge in charge truck. And no blinker, no nothing. So I thought he was just turning, but he was doing the old 3 point, let me back my truck up into this parking spot. By the time he started to even turn his wheels, because respectfully, this was an older gentleman that I don't know if he should have been behind the wheel operating such a large vehicle, because the way he was navigating in the parking lot, nobody would have known where he was going until immediately he was going. I tell you this because I'm in my Jeep and I'm behind him in this tight parking lot. And you kind of have to scooch forward, otherwise, you're blocking the traffic behind you. So it's kind of like, it's a hard, it's hard to explain, but I'm telling you this proximity wise so you realize why I was so close to the truck. It's not because I was a hangry prep monster ready for my coffee, maybe debatably, but I wasn't in a rush, but I was close to this person because of the nature of the parking lot. So when he went to go whip it back with no no cues whatsoever, no blinker, I went to go put my car in reverse. I didn't hit the gas. I rarely do. I just kind of let my foot off the brake, and I have a backup camera. Well, apparently, a pedestrian decided he was going to walk behind me. And not just behind me, he was going to walk like kissing my bumper. So when I just let off the gas, I saw him there, and I hit my brake immediately, and he looked at me like I had just committed the worst crime ever, like, "Ah, watch where you're going, blah blah." And I was like, "Oh my God." So I was like, I almost just hit a person because I kind of wasn't paying attention, but also I just didn't have anywhere to go. So that was moment number one where I was like, all right, maybe it was a situation, maybe it was prep brain, I don't know. Here's situation number two, and this one's debatably the more embarrassing one. So normally I usually just go inside for my mobile order. But because of the whole parking lot deal, and I was like, I'm not in a rush, I went ahead and I went through the drive through. You guys, I go through the drive through and I'm listening to whatever podcast at the time. And I'm just enjoying my time. I'm just happy to be there. I'm apparently in my own world until all of a sudden I hear something outside and I'm like, what is that? What is that sound? I realized I had my window up because I was like, oh, it's just a mobile order. They were screaming at me through the little box, like, excuse me, are you gonna order? I was like, oh my God. I forgot about the speaker because I never go through the drive-through and I wasn't there to place an order. So I'm just sitting there like a little Becky bimbo in my car, windows up, in my own world at the speaker, and they're yelling at me. And when I rolled my window down, because again, I don't have like a bougie Jeep, I've got like, I have to manually roll my windows down. So I'm rolling it down and I was like, I'm so sorry. And they're like, can we help you? I was like, oh, ugh. Anyways, so that was some good stuff. Um, had to share that. Let me know what your prep brain moments have been this week, because I'm sure somebody listening, or even if you're not in prep, maybe you've got pregnancy brain, maybe you've got parent brain, maybe you're like, nope, this is just me on a Tuesday, but here's something dumb I did. Let me know because I love those stories. And also, I like sharing them. If there's like a funny one that you're like, here's some dumb stuff that I did. That being said, what other updates this week should I share? I already talked about our home. I talked about the coffee. I talked about prep, where I'm at. Let's see, where am I at weeks wise? I'm not going to lie, guys. Today has been mentally a struggle. Let's see while I'm counting. One, two. I'm 3 weeks and 4 days from my warm up show, which means I'm 4 weeks and 4 days from my national show. And can you feel the panic? Can you feel it? I am both excited for the opportunity to step on stage so quickly. Usually, whenever you're in prep, it feels so far away. You're like, oh, 20 weeks, 16 weeks, 4 or 5 months. And you're like, oh my God. So I will say, I appreciate the fact that I get to have almost like instant gratification where it's like, all right, I just got to keep my head down and do this thing for a period of time. And then I get to do something that I love in a very short period of time. That's a huge positive, as well as one day when I do get my pro card, this is good objective data for, okay, here's the one time I did this many weeks of prep, and here's the data that I followed at that time. So there's a lot of positives for sure of this process, but I would be lying straight to your face, or I guess in this case, your ears, if I said that it's not an active effort to panic is such an extreme word, but to get like anxious or self-conscious, maybe that's a really good word. Um, and I think that's partially why I haven't come out and told people what my show is, because if we're being super honest, it's almost like you feel, and this is all self-inflicted, and I'm sharing all of this because everything I'm going to share tools wise next makes sense, and hopefully it warms you up to the idea that we're all battling with something internally, some sort of inadequacy or, self expectations we've put upon ourselves. I think I get afraid when telling people how many weeks out I am because, in my mind, and this is my perception, I immediately assume that the person in front of me might be sizing me up and thinking, like, oh, that's a quick turnaround, or like, really? And I don't want to place blame because this isn't fair. But if I'm trying to understand my emotions, I think part of why I feel that way is because the week I came back, I did have somebody straight to my face tell me that it wasn't a good idea and that I wouldn't be ready. And this person did look me up and down while saying that, saying I wouldn't. So I understand where my feelings come from, but part of what I'm going to talk about today is, we control our feelings and what we take away from what other people say to us. So for me, it's like I'm choosing in that moment, like I chose to react a certain way or to take weight. Because when someone tells you something, you don't have to buy into what they're saying, you don't have to accept what they're saying as truth. I think you have the power, or we have the power. And it's not easy, but we have the power to accept the fact that this is someone's opinion and these are someone's words, but it's up to us to accept it as reality, or to carry that with us. So I think even though this person did say it to me, it's like really that was just a reflection of what I was already insecure about. So I share this because I know I'm not the only one who gets nervous when telling people show plans, or maybe you want to hold something close to your heart as far as your plans, because at the end of the day, you're afraid of failing, or you're afraid of letting people down, or it can be scary to put yourself out there and say you're shooting towards this one goal because, ooh, if I put it out there and I share it with people and I fail, well, then everyone's gonna know that I failed. And I think on some level we've all experienced that, whether we are competitors or maybe it's a career goal we have, or a family goal we have, a dating goal. Maybe you have a new relationship and you're like, ugh, if I, as soon as I hard launch this and tell people that we're dating and then it doesn't work out, and then I have to tell people that it's not working out. Or, I don't want to share with these people that I'm hoping for this promotion, because if they choose Jeffrey over me, like, then I have to tell people that it didn't work out. So I think, competitor or not, it's really relatable. These things that we go through in this very temporary life. But something that's helped me a lot lately, especially as a new entrepreneur too, that just like I said, same exact emotions, just different hat, whether it's competitor hat or doctor in bikini hat, podcast hat, entrepreneur hat, whatever hat. Stoicism in this book I've been listening to has really helped to put things in perspective for me as far as what we can control. So I mentioned earlier coming back and feeling like there was so much that I didn't know what was going to happen. I felt like so many things were out of control. I felt like it was a lot of new. And on a soul level, I knew, okay, if this is scary, then it means that I'm doing the right thing. Because while I'm inserting some of my favorite quotes, I truly believe that if you're not changing something, then you're choosing something. And for me, being a therapist at a clinical job. I mean, I didn't love it. It didn't feel like my reality, and it felt like I told Connor when I came back, I said, or right before I came back, I was like, I really don't want to apply to another clinical job because it just feels like I'm choosing the same behavior that I know doesn't make me happy. And in turn, I know that however many weeks down the road, I'm going to be miserable at this job, and it's not going to be anyone's fault but my own because I chose the exact same quote evil that doesn't serve me. So, what do I do? It feels like I'm choosing the safe route if I just continue to choose this job. And he's like, I think you have to go full time. You have to go all in on all these things that you want to do instead of having everything as a side gig because it's safe. I think it's best that you full commit and really immerse yourself and give yourself the chance. And even when I committed to that, it was like I, on some level, felt like when I was telling people that this is what I'm doing and this is my job now, it's so funny, the same exact voice. It was like, "Oh, you feel like you feel like people are like, "Oh, that's what you're doing for now," or, "Oh, back to reality. Oh, what do you mean that's what you're doing for work? Oh, that cute little podcast you have, or oh, the little prehab thing that you do." Like it feels like it's this little thing or like not enough to other people. And again, just because this person doesn't understand, it doesn't mean that they are saying that it's dumb or not going to work out or that you're going to fail. Those are all our own inherent beliefs and fears of our success. So I can relate to what I'm about to share with you on so many levels. It's actually insane. And this is what has been keeping me sane because when you're doing so many things that you love that are scary and that are unknown all at once, something has to keep us sane at the end of the day. And right now, it's not a bag of cookies. I wish it was cookies. That would be great. But I have to be more creative than that because some of the temporary distractors and pleasures in life, whether that's, going and doing something fun like to the movies or to a restaurant or grabbing drinks with friends or, going to coffee shops or things like that, whether it's because of financial goals or because of prep goals, I'm forced is such a bad word, but I'm challenged to really focus on the areas in life that need attention. And that is our segue into Stoicism here. So, one of the things I want to talk about is embracing the lack of control. I feel like we can all relate to that. You know what I said earlier about the individual that mentioned to me they wouldn't do what I want to do because they don't think it's a good idea and they don't think I'm going to be ready in time. And part of what I said is exactly what that book by Jason Hemlock mentions. He says, the more intentional we become with our reactions, the more stoic we become. And the more stoic we become, the more we realize which aspects of our lives are out of our control. And the more we realize what's out of our control, the more that we can let them go. So, even as I say that to you, some of you are probably like, wow, that's where your mind went. Like I had to sit with that. That wasn't my initial reaction. My initial reaction was I was mad, I was hurt, I wanted to cry. I wanted reassurance from the people I loved that it wasn't true. And it took a lot of inner searching for me to realize that, you know, I'm the one giving power to this and I can waste my time and fixate on something so small and insignificant, or I can focus on what I can control. I think there's a few things I want to go into as far as what we can control. But one thing I think to consider a lot of times, maybe your prep has been a long time, or maybe, the amount of time you've been working towards a certain goal is a long time, or it feels unattainable. And I think sometimes when our goals are based on desire of an outcome, it's a lot harder to follow as opposed to if our goal is based off of our purpose, our why, if you will. And I think when we focus on the why, which Maybe you're like, I don't even know my why. Start with what your best self would do. And I think sometimes it's easier to answer to that question than, no, I don't want to have this cookie because I have a show day coming up. Or it's a lot easier to say no to something that's outcome based as opposed to something that is soul based. So, for instance, I have been waking up a lot earlier, even though I'm self employed. So, you could argue, well, if you're self employed and it's your own schedule, then you can wake up when you want to wake up. Wrongo. I have quickly found if I wake up when I feel like waking up, or let's say mornings like this morning, I did a behavior that I know usually doesn't end well. I woke up at my own time and I started my phone or I started my morning with social media. And I remember thinking to myself, Shannon, the days that you start with scrolling are your most anxious days. Why are you doing this? And I think the days that instead of focusing on the task specifically or focusing on, oh, yeah, you've got time or you don't have much on your calendar today, instead of reasoning, ask yourself, would my best self sleep in? Would my best self find interest in starting my morning on Instagram? Would my best self make time for friends and family today? Would my best self get laundry done and out of the way? Would my best self go to the gym first? Would my best self have this cookie? Would my best self, it goes on and on and on. I think when we tie the little things that we do and the little things that we can control every single day to our sole purpose, it becomes a lot more clear the right answer or maybe the best fitting answer to set you on the path that you want to be on, if that makes sense. Something else lately I've been trying to control is, like I mentioned earlier, my reactions, my emotions, whether that is a sense of imposter syndrome or a sense of readiness or even, hey, why does this person not like me? Or worrying about your reputation of your business or worrying about if you're making other people happy. And you've heard it a million times, oh, you can't control that. And yeah, sure. You can remind yourself that and it sticks for like 1 second if you're anything like me. But I think to better reframe that to something that is actionable and that you'll actually apply versus, I haven't yet read the Let Them theory. That's on my to read list, but for if you're like me and you struggle sometimes with, oh, that's out of your control, focus on what you can control. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we're going to go over an exercise where it actually helps you to define what you can control and how you can frame your daily goals to make life a little easier and a little less stressful on yourself. So, like I said, I got a lot of this from listening and reading the book by Jason Hemlock. And this part of the book, it talks about letting go of our attachments to what we think we can control. And you guessed it, I'm going to start with the point of view as a competitor. So maybe you have a goal to show up to a certain show. Maybe you have a goal to place or get a call out or to win your pro card or to qualify for the Olympia. And although we say all the time, you can't control it, you can't control it. I think we'd be lying if we said that our goals aren't still somewhat connected to that placement. No matter how much we say, oh, I'm not going to tie my success to this goal. I think it's a very human, very understandable emotion to be disappointed when that outcome that we didn't control might not happen. You might be one of the best competitors at the end of the day. You may have had the most grueling prep. You may be an amazing poser with a dancing background. You have a lot of muscularity, whatever. You might be amazing, my point. But there's a lot of things that we can't control that we don't think of. Travel difficulties, makeup, hair, tan difficulties, uh, the weather of the location, if I didn't say that already, or, the conditions of the venue that you're at. the other competitors that show up that day, obviously, tripping on stage, getting an injury last minute, God forbid. Those are all things that you cannot control. Maybe you have a reaction to your food, or your body just has other plans, and you everything could go wrong or quote bad, which the stoic mindset is things that happen aren't inherently good or bad, but everything is an opportunity for us to grow and to learn something from. And I think conceptually that can make sense, and that's all well and good, but when we are so wrapped up and emotionally connected to this goal that we have, I think it still can be really hard to swallow and actually implement the fact that if you don't win the pro card that day, then that doesn't mean that you failed or let people down, which objectively isn't true. You didn't let people down, you didn't fail, but how can we better prepare ourselves to handle adversity? How can we better prepare ourselves to lose with grace or to accept the unexpected? That was hard to say. Accept the unexpected. Um, Here's how. Today, we're going to go through making goals based on your efforts, not the outcome. Again, I got this from the book. It was just my own interpretation based on my life right now. But I think writing down what goals you can make and what things you can control. That way, at the end of the day, when you've connected your goals to your efforts and your mindset is apart from emotion, then your progress is going to be inevitable. You are going to improve because ultimately, the goals you set for yourself were based on what you can control and the things that you can do starting today, what you can do to be your best self today, because you don't have to wait for something to happen or for changes to happen to become your best self. You can choose to be your best self today. And I think this is a hard pill for me to swallow. Some days, all your goals are not going to be met. Most days, your goals are not all going to be met, but that's okay. I think as long as every single day you take the opportunity to do something, some sort of effort towards the greater good, towards your sole purpose, towards your best self's intention, then immediately you've already won. No matter what we do, we can't control if we meet all of our goals, but you can control your own attitude and whether you work hard. So, competing aside, a few examples. If you're job hunting, and it talks about this in the book, you can have everything set up perfectly. Your references are on point, you've done your research, you are well prepared for the job interview, but it doesn't mean that you're guaranteed that job. Or say if you are like me, an entrepreneur, and maybe you have certain ideas of things you would like to make happen, like you would like to make a certain amount of money, you would like to make a certain amount of sales. Can you control that? No. But what you can control is your efforts towards the marketing, towards promoting, towards connecting with people, towards just showing up every single day, even on the days that you really don't want to, or you're questioning, why am I even doing this? Am I even good enough for this? Oh, I should just go back to this job. Oh, maybe I shouldn't do this competition. Who am I kidding? What you can control is just continuing to check the boxes of your own goals based on your own efforts. So, being my ADD minded self, my tends to be hard on herself person, and deep in prep, going on a new adventure, all the things, something needs to keep me grounded, right? So, when this book told me, setting goals in your personal life, you are directly supporting yourself in creating your dream life. I said, all right, so, what am I going to do? I'm going to create a list so that way every day that I feel overwhelmed, discouraged, I need some sort of reassurance, or maybe I'm just so scatterbrained that day, I just need to know where to start or what's the bare minimum that I need to do that day. And that is this list. And I titled it Goals Based on My Efforts. I put on there how many times to post on my socials as far as my branding and marketing, how many times to appear on lives or stories. I have a few bare minimum where those are daily things like updating my client books or reflecting on my goals every morning. One thing I really appreciated too, the book said when you're setting these goals based on your efforts, you should, in theory, I say theory because all these things, again, I'm not perfect. I have not yet mastered getting everything done on this list. And if you heard me a few seconds back, most days you're probably not going to meet everything. And I even have to remind myself that that's okay. But as long as you are making moves towards the general goal, you have to give yourself some grace that you're doing what you can do because your effort is there and that's what matters. But it does say in theory, reflecting on your lessons at the end of every day, the end of every week, and the end of every quarter. So that way you're constantly updating and holding yourself accountable, reflecting on the past 24 hours, the past week, on what went well, what are some things that you'd like to continue to do, or what would you like to do differently, or how have your goals changed? I think I honestly love that concept. I think that's a really great accountability tool that I want to work on being better with, because I think journaling, or maybe you're having your morning tea or a good night recap whenever it fits in for you. I think that's a really good framework to just check in with yourself, especially on what went well if you're anything like me, because on a human level, I tend to look at my lists and it's really hard for me to not look at, well, what didn't I check off? What didn't I get to? Okay, I got to make sure I do that tomorrow. And then it's just that's just so not fair. I don't know. I'm working on it, like I said. I talk about my money goals. I talk about even just, not money goals, sorry, backing it up. I say check expenses daily because for me, I'm trying to make sure that I have a healthy, not scarcity relationship when it comes to money. Read or audiobook daily. I think for me, the effort of self improvement, I feel very privileged at this time to feel like I have more time available to make space for that. So that's why it's on my efforts list of either reading something for fun or reading something for self improvement. I talk about how many leads I want to generate and how often I want to follow up on leads. Because, like I said earlier, you can't control how much you sell. You can't control how many people are going to invest in your product or your service, but you can control how often you show up for the relationships that you're making. I talk about family and friends. I talk about my bikini goals. And I talk about the podcast. So for me, every single person's list is going to be different, but making lists based on some of the general things that are important to you and what are some small baby steps that you can do and making it attainable. Like, to be honest, I may have made my list a little lofty, and that's a good self reflection for me. But I hope that this exercise is helpful for you, whether it's a career goal, fitness goal. And I guess I can list some specific because maybe you're like, I just don't even know where to start. So instead of, I want to place at this show or I want to get a pro card for this show, you can guarantee that you're going to, okay, my effort is I'm going to drink a gallon of water every single day. My effort is I'm going to meet my macros every single day. I'm going to make sure to get my cardio in. I'm going to make sure to get all my lifts in, even if I have to split it up a different way because of time. I'm going to make sure to get X amount of steps in, this many hours of sleep in. And I know a lot of those are very lofty goals. I think sometimes we don't give ourselves credit for that. It can be really effortful to check every single box on the box for prep. But I think thinking about those small actionable steps makes you realize that when you do step on stage, you can say, holy cow, I really put myself out there and I really crushed my efforts. I did a great job preparing myself to be the best that I can be. I'm putting my best foot forward. And that's something that you can guarantee is to show up and give it your best effort for a show. The rest is out of your control. Especially, I mean, well, I don't want to say especially, but I can relate experience wise to my other bikini girls out there because it's like, you don't know who's judging that day. You don't know if they're going to go softer that day. You don't know if they're going to go harder that day. Gosh, sometimes I swear, I know that I don't get shorter and taller but somehow I can do 4 shows and be a different height class at every show. And you want to know what's so fun about that? Is the body composition per height class tends to be so different. Somebody joked, they're like, man, if you would have just stood up on your toes, or if you would have just bent your knees a little bit, I mean, this division was harder, this division was softer. And you're like, I have no idea, but I'm just going to show up as the best package that I can and hope for the best. So I think, especially when we emphasize that, doesn't that sound crazy that at the end of the day, we can walk away with a placing that we weren't anticipating and still be disappointed? Because the fact that you put in so much groundwork, so much sacrifice, so much investment on a personal level towards this accomplishment, I mean, just making it there and stepping on stage should, in theory, be so rewarding. And I feel the people that somehow um, master that as far as walking away happy regardless of the outcome. Yes, they've probably had a lot of practice with shows, but honestly, I think that to some level, they might not call it that, but I think they have adopted the stoic mindset of focusing on what really matters, and the fact that no matter what, the performance or the outcome that day isn't going to be inherently good or bad. It's just another experience that they get to grow from and learn from and enjoy. And I hope that putting different words to that maybe is helpful for you, because I think, again, conceptually, all this makes sense. And I've even spoken about it at some point in one of my many episodes, but putting a name to it, like Stoicism, and studying that and listening to that and getting actual physical exercises for me to do really helps to make this concept tangible and to give myself some daily exercises when we do feel human and we are spinning up and we do need some sort of direction or ways to calm down our anxiety, aside from just, yeah, you can't control it or it's going to happen or it all works out one foot in front of the other. Because some days that really doesn't work for me. And I'm sure for you, when it's something you really care about and you want to feel accomplished with, I'm sure you've had these same feelings. So hopefully you have appreciated this. And honestly, this was just a small glimpse of one of the many chapters I've read. And I think there's a lot of lessons I'm going to share. So this might be like a whole series in itself, just focusing on the stoic mindset as the competitor. So let me know if you'd be interested in that and if you appreciate the real life examples. But otherwise, I think it's my cue to sign off for the day. So I will keep y'all posted on this journey over the next 3.5 weeks, 4.5 weeks, which again is insane, but we are choosing to be excited. So thank you so much for listening. If you don't already, make sure to give me a follow across all social media platforms. Everything is linked below. Enter that giveaway. It does end on the 21st at midnight, like I said, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye, guys.